Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 7th episode of the PUDcast with Jason and Mike. I'm Jason.
I'm Mike.
And we're coming to you from the deepest, darkest bowels of Game Swap in the Pud Cave, located right here in beautiful downtown Lincoln in the great state of North Carolina. Mikey, brother, what is going on?
Man, it has been a good week.
Well,
it's been a nice week. I just chill, relax. I'm loving it.
Well, you know, Mike, I couldn't help but notice, man, you don't really seem to take a lot of breaks because, you know, we're coming right out of Comic-Con just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing something about a chalk walk coming up.
Well, I got two things coming up. That's in November, so that's
okay.
like 3 months down the road.
Okay.
So I'm just not even sweating on that. Well, actually, we've got another thing coming up in a couple weeks. Of course, I'm not sweating on it either because, you know, we're doing that Facebook Live viewing party for First and Fright guys.
That's right.
And they're doing the investigation over at the courthouse.
Right. So is that okay to talk about now?
Yeah, absolutely. yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of, okay, we shouldn't talk about this now. And we can talk about this now. Shouldn't talk about this now. It's okay to talk about.
Good. It's out in the open. We know what's going on now. And, man, that looks pretty cool.
I think it's going to be really cool.
I may actually have to stay up past 9 o'clock for this one.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, man. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Because it starts at 9.
Right. Whew, man, could y'all not do this, you know, or could they not do this about 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, you know?
When you go and do the investigations, you go ghost hunting, for lack of a better word, ghost hunting.
Right.
You ain't gonna do it in the daylight.
Well, why not? I mean, it's not like ghosts have a time clock. I mean, or ghost third shift.
Well, it's harder to see.
But the ghosts are invisible.
No, not all of them. Not all. You saw that footage.
I did see the footage.
You
Yes,
saw
I did.
that.
Yes. And you know, Mike, I think I said it either last week or the week before. You know, I'm a skeptic.
Uh-huh.
You know, man, I see this stuff on television. I'm like, yeah, it's a work.
Yeah.
You know, just like pro wrestling, it's a work.
Yep.
But I will say, the video footage they showed me at the Comic-Con sent a chill up my spine.
Right.
It really did. And I'm not just saying that. I'm just not trying to put these guys over. I'm being legit. They showed me some footage of some footprints that just like appeared out of nowhere.
All right.
Brother, I got chills. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have to just step back from that. I don't even want to look at that right now. That was a little bit too intense for me. I'm not going to lie.
It's one of those things where, you know, there's a lot of stuff out there. Like you said, a lot of stuff has worked.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
You know, and it's for show. I don't know if you've seen a lot of these shows on the cable. You know, some of the guys, you know, like Mountain Monsters, stuff like that.
Right.
I don't know if you've seen these guys. These are just straight
It's work.
fat hillbillies running around with guns.
Right.
And they're falling down all the time.
Right. It sounds pretty fun, to be honest with you.
Honestly, they should all be dead.
Right.
As much as they fall down with guns in their hands.
And you're not talking about from the ghost. You're talking about just from their own clumsiness.
Oh, yeah, that, and they're chasing like Bigfoot and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. You know, oh man, it's a mess, but it's funny.
Right.
It's entertaining. It's entertaining.
Right. So, you know, Mike, so we got that coming up here. Now, when is that again? What's the date on that?
That is, oh my gosh, you caught me off guard on
I'm
that
sorry. Once again, Puds, we're not prepared.
Wasn't prepared for that one. Give me just a second.
I believe, is it this coming?
August 17th.
Okay.
Yeah.
17th.
Now, here's the deal. A lot of people got confused on that. That's why the confusion with talking about it that came out really confusing, because a lot of people thought that this investigation was going to be open to the public, that they could join in at the courthouse. That is not the case whatsoever.
So do not gather on the courthouse August 17th at 9 o'clock. Do not.
You'll be asked to leave.
And, well, where can they go, Mike?
They can come across the street.
Where at, Mike?
To Game Swap.
Game Swap?
To Game Swap.
Now, the Pud Cave will not be open for the public.
No. Unfortunately not. Maybe you know, later on. But yeah, we'll be watching it via Facebook Live from their site, and what they see, we'll see it on our big screen TV
In real
out
time.
front. Yeah.
In real time.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. So
Yeah.
in other words, we're having a viewing party of this ghost hunting, basically, that's directly across the street
Directly
from us.
across the street.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
I think that's a great
Yeah.
idea, and I think that's really cool on your end to offer that to the
Yeah.
people. So in other words, it's not just something you have to stay home. You can do this as an
Right.
event. This is something you can come out
Yeah.
and participate in. You just can't be over there.
Right,
with,
right.
You're not a Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
So.
Right. You know, I was thinking about this thing when I came up with it and putting it together. It's like, have you ever seen like some of the horror movies that kind of do that same thing? That, you know, they've got the live feed.
Oh
and
yeah,
somebody
yeah.
goes
Some of the
in.
more modern
Yeah,
ones and everything. Right.
And you know, and thinking about, oh no, you know, there's something right there. There's something behind you. Move.
Because we're close.
Yeah.
We're close.
We're
This
close
isn't a
right
DVD,
there.
man.
Right,
This,
no.
this is real life.
Yeah,
Well, depending on what you call real life. I
Right.
mean, in other words, if there's a mad ghost that decides to just start poltergeisting,
Oh.
it could hit us.
Oh
Maybe you ought to stay at the house. I don't know.
no.
Come on out to Game Swap, man. You know.
Yeah.
Take the risk with everybody.
Right.
So, Mike, what else is going on, man? So we've talked about the First and Fright. There's also the Chalk Walk,
Culture
obviously.
Crawl.
The Culture Crawl is what I was going to
Which
bring up.
will be on November 9th.
Okay.
That'll be a Friday night, and we're just going to have a lot of artists, musicians,
That's awesome.
performers, exhibitors. This is more of the counterculture stuff,
Well, hey, man.
not, you know, the well-known people. You know,
Right.
this is going to be there's going to be something for everybody.
Perfect, man. In other
know?
words, we're going to be able to. Well, I think you just said it best. There's something there for everyone.
Exactly.
You know, it's nothing mainstream.
Right.
You know, a lot of times people, I think, not only in our town, Mike, but in all towns, I think there's a lot of people who just maybe don't necessarily get into the mainstream type of things. You know, I was always like that,
Right.
man. I was always way outside the norm. You know, I
Yeah.
was into my own thing, and that's good that the towns, you know, opening that up a little
Right.
bit, man. And you know, it's really cool that you get to be a part of that here at Game Swap, and it's really cool that the PUDs can be part of it as well.
Absolutely.
You know, I
man.
mean, it's for all of us.
It's a free to the public gathering. You know, it's not going to be a road closure.
Right.
You know, so it's open, it's free. Artists are going to be in downtown stores, offices, centers, everywhere, restaurants, everything. It's going to be a big time.
Sounds like a good time,
Yeah.
man, for sure. And I know I'll be there. You know, Mike will be there. So, PUDs, we'd
Yeah.
love for you guys to be there as well. And, you know, Mike, speaking of PUDs, this week, brother, before we get into this week, let me just say how much fun I had last week. I have fun every week. Every podcast is great. But, man, last week, I really enjoyed it. I think maybe a little bit more than the usual one because we got to just talk about a what-if scenario.
What if, man?
And our what-if scenario last week was so big,
Mhm.
it really carried over into this week's as well.
Right.
You know, we went from what if Magnum T.A. did not have the car accident last week. And now we're going to start thinking about one of those situations that came out of Magnum's accident, which was the babyface turn of Nikita Koloff.
Right.
Now, Mikey, this is something me and you have talked about for 25 years. This is something that our friends who are also wrestling fans have talked about for years and years. And that is, was Nikita the right choice to turn babyface at that time?
Exactly.
You know, Mike, last week, you know, I've listened to last week's podcast a couple of times, and you made some really great points about with the resources they had at the time, you know, who would have been a better option. You know, and obviously this is subjective. This is obviously just our opinions. But, you know, Mike, you made some great points that really led to that Nikita was probably, given the resources, the best decision that they can make at that time.
At that time.
And, you know, Mike, I went back and I watched the video link that you posted on our YouTube channel that showed Nikita when he came out with Dusty. Magical, brother. It was magical, Mikey.
Still gives chills.
I'm getting them as we speak. I know the people at home can't see it, but I'm literally getting goosebumps. That reaction Nikita got when he jumped in that cage and started attacking Ole Anderson was, you know, Mikey.
I don't think I've ever heard since something like that.
I was about to say, I would put that reaction over Stone Cold Steve Austin's reactions, man, because I'll go back and watch some of the Attitude Era stuff.
Yeah.
Man, the way that was it in Greensboro that happened? Do you remember?
That was in Charlotte.
It was in Charlotte.
Yeah.
It was in
That
Charlotte.
was in Charlotte.
Man, the way that Charlotte crowd reacted was bigger and louder and more intense and emotional than any other reaction I've ever heard. However, Mike,
Yes.
me and you have both said, you know, personally, that maybe this wasn't the best decision
Long term.
long term. To me, Nikita Koloff was the greatest heel. In my opinion, in Jason Finger's world, the greatest heel of all time because he was scary.
Yes.
He was legit.
Yes.
He wasn't a chicken shit. He would
Right.
literally destroy you.
Yeah.
He could kill you. I mean,
yeah.
and he was a Russian.
And it looked like he was killing
Yes.
everybody every week.
Every week. He would, man, I feel
Yeah.
so bad for those enhancement talents. They had to go in there and just get the absolute shit kicked out of them by Nikita Koloff.
Oh.
But, you know, to me, Mike, the biggest thing that made Nikita so scary was he was Russian.
Right.
And, you know, me and Mike,
Yeah,
you know,
at that
we're at that age to where we literally had to watch movies in school, in elementary school, what to do in case they dropped a nuclear bomb on us.
Right.
So, you know,
Duck and cover.
Duck and go under the deck. Like, that'd really help.
My God.
It's like put your head in, you know, between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye.
That was basically what that was for that was what that was for little kids.
Yeah,
Duck and cover.
It was duck and cover. I think it was basically just to keep the kids occupied while they, you know, their
Yeah.
impending doom was
Right.
approaching.
Right.
But, you know, Mike, this week's podcast, you know, we're going to talk about a couple different things, and this one's really special to me, Mikey, because when I first had the thought about doing a podcast, just a podcast,
Right.
this was the question I had. The very first idea that I had for a podcast was what we're about to do today. So this is very special to me because this is the question that has gone over my head for months and months. Well, years, honestly. But once I started thinking about, man, it would be cool to do a podcast. I would love to do this subject. And that subject is, who else could have taken that spot
All right.
for Nikita? I think let's break it up into two different categories, Mike. Let's talk about realistically. Let's talk about the ones. In other words, let's think if there was any options given the resources that Crockett had.
For their current resources in-house.
In-house.
Okay.
And then maybe toward the end of this podcast, we can start going in a little bit more fantasy land.
Right.
And start talking about who we would like to see if money wasn't a resource, if there were open contracts, if you could pull any worker from any other territory at that time. So, but Mike, before we do all that, you being the historian, would you like to give us a little background on maybe Nikita or how Nikita did become babyface? Is there anything you'd like to,
Oh,
maybe catch us up with?
We covered a lot of stuff with Magnum last week.
Yes, sir.
And we covered a lot of stuff with Nikita as far as how all that happened, with the turn and everything. As far as the big wreck, that Magnum suffered, the career-ending car accident, and with the big feud with Nikita and Magnum, it was super huge.
Oh yes,
Super huge.
very intense feud, man.
Very. And making that decision to turn him baby on that night, it was feasible.
Right.
You can definitely buy it from what Nikita having respect for Magnum.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Um,
And they really played that up a lot.
They did.
That
They
was
did.
the main thing. It wasn't about
Yeah.
I like him
Right.
or I feel bad for him or fans. It's like I respect this man.
Here's the thing with turning him baby. And I know we thought about it when we were kids. Obviously we thought about it, when we were older too. You had guys that would turn baby, but at some point down the road, they were going to turn back heel.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely.
Ole Anderson,
Great example.
Flair,
Flair's a good, yeah.
Anybody like that.
Right.
I think at first maybe there was that apprehension of, okay, when's Nikita going to turn on Dusty?
Right. When's it going back?
But it never happened.
And
Or they never led on to anything. They pushed it so hard. This would never happen.
And Mike, could take your point and even go a little further with it, man. Not only did they never even hint or tease the possibility, but they really pushed him being a face very hard, man. And I
Yeah.
even go back to him growing his hair out. Something as, what seems to be kind of simple or inconsequential is simply growing your hair out. When Nikita did it, it symbolized a new Russia.
Yeah.
And once again, Mike, we talked about last week, this was really parallel to what was going on in the real world.
Yeah.
Russia was or the Soviet Union was about to fall, or maybe it had fallen. I think that was around 89, 90 when the wall came down. I'm not sure when the Berlin Wall came down, but, people pretty much, put that alongside the Soviet Union's fall.
Right.
So, just something as simple as Nikita growing his hair out, man, that was a big deal. And
Right.
and they not only did they not tease him going back heel, but man, they just pushed him being a babyface through the roof at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, so Mike, well, I was gonna say,
Well,
yeah.
But let's see. Nikita, obviously. Well, you know, when you talk about growing the hair out, you know, new rush and everything. Chernobyl's okay. You don't have to worry about Chernobyl anymore.
It's right.
It's done. Chernobyl's done. So
they can grow their hair back.
Everybody's getting their hair back now.
The goatees are falling out.
Yeah.
Hair's growing back. I
Hey,
don't know.
Yeah,
Man.
here's a potato.
Cats and dogs living together.
Yeah, vodka. Here's some history on Nikita. Nikita's real name is Scott Simpson.
That doesn't sound Russian, Mike.
It doesn't. In fact, it's
almost sounds like he's from Salisbury.
No, not quite.
A little more up north than that, maybe?
A little more up north. It's more likely a name you'll find in Minnesota. Which is where he is from.
Seems like Minnesota put out a lot of good workers, brother.
Well, you know, there's a lot of talent.
A lot, man.
A lot of talent that came through there. Road Warriors.
Road Warriors is one.
Rick Rude.
Rick Rude's with Mr. Perfect.
Flair
came out. The Sheik came out
Yes.
there. You know, we mentioned the Road Warriors.
Yeah, Vern Gagne had the entire AWA.
Didn't Dusty?
Dusty worked up there with Murdoch.
Yeah, that's right.
But you know, when he came in, he was really green.
Right.
I think the Warriors had suggested him to Dusty because they all worked out together.
Yeah, right.
And they put him with Ivan Koloff, who was one of the biggest heels at that time, Russian.
Gave him the rub. Right off the bat.
Nikita, nephew.
And he was a beast,
and
man.
It was born.
And he was such a monster. And
yeah, he was
a legit monster.
You know as well as I do, when he was a heel, he was a lot bigger.
Oh, yeah, yes.
He was a lot bigger.
I think something with that hair growth may have had something to do a little bit with some of the other substances Nikita may have been using.
Well,
because Nikita shrank.
Nikita shrank when he turned baby.
He did. And
it was very noticeable.
Oh, yes. He was still a huge guy.
Yes.
And still a beast, but he was not as built.
No.
And one thing I'll say about
And he lost that edge.
I think so.
He lost that edge whenever he turned babyface.
Yeah, because not only did he, was no longer the big evil monster,
right,
but he did lose his size as well. And we'll talk about the hair growth. I think it did make him a little less intimidating.
Right.
It really, because you didn't see a lot of bald people in that day, man. Now, everybody's bald. Well, we are, but that's
that's Father
nice
Time.
Nature. Yeah,
that's Father Time.
But back then, man, you seen a young guy in their 20s or 30s, with a bald head, man, and they were trouble. Especially if they were Russian. But Mike, the one thing about
that's your Chris Stowe.
Well, now Chris Stowe gets a pass, man.
Yeah.
That's a shout out for Chris Stowe this week. The one thing about Nikita, Mike, that I've always kind of looked to is he gets a lot of, maybe, man, for lack of a better term, sometimes the man catches a little bit of shit for not being the best worker. He may not have been the best bell-to-bell worker. But you know what I loved about Nikita, man?
He didn't have to be.
Well, for one, he didn't. He was so big, man. What was he going to do? Is he going to bump for George South? Come on. I mean, nothing from George South. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
It wouldn't have made sense.
Right.
But not only that, have you ever heard of or saw another wrestler take their gimmick so seriously? I mean, people can talk what they want about Nikita, but this man learned Russian and changed his name.
There's only one other word. This might not be the best example.
Oh, no.
But there is one other person that comes to mind that has gone that stretch, that extra mile. Ultimate Warrior.
The Evil Warrior. Yeah.
The Ultimate Warrior.
Once again, maybe not the best example, but you know what, man?
But there it is.
There's a lot of similarities there.
Right.
Neither one of them will ever be called the best bell-to-bell in-ring worker, man.
Yep.
No one will ever accuse either one of them of being a Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels or Ric Flair, But can't neither one of them can't anybody take away from them taking their gimmick, man, and living it and pushing it. Once again, when you start hearing these stories, when you get older, you start hearing these shoot interviews and things like this, you're like, wow, man, I have so much respect for Nikita, the performer, because he lived it.
He lived it. And, speaking, ring work, as far as being able to work, I mean, no, he wasn't the greatest technical. No. He knew basics. Sure. I mean, that was it.
Sure.
But he could work a crowd.
Oh, man. And you know what? You want to talk about two guys that maybe wasn't the best workers, because I think two I'm about to bring up get some of the same kind of I guess some of the stereotypes that Nikita gets, and that's Lex Luger.
Right.
You know, very similar, big bodies, you know, big bodybuilders, very limited work. But man, you put Nikita and Lex in the ring together,
Oh, yeah.
man, they tore it up.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the
That
crowd.
was a good match.
Oh man,
That was a good match between those two. That was a good pairing.
absolutely. And you think on paper it would sneak up the joint?
Oh,
I mean, on paper it's like, oh man, who booked this stuff?
right.
But that was the beauty
No,
of the bookers and the people who were in charge of that stuff.
That was a great feud. I don't know that it went on as long as it should have.
No, they could have carried it on.
I
They
think
could have.
so.
They could have definitely carried
Yeah.
it on. So, Mike, do you want to get into a little bit of, you know, maybe who could have replaced
Okay,
Nikita?
so let's take this and put it in our what if universe.
Okay.
If the decision was made not to turn Nikita babyface,
Right.
who would have been the best bet for Dusty's partner in that cage match that night in Charlotte?
Right.
To
Man.
take on the Horseman.
Right. So, you know, man, I mean, once again, I'm not prepared. You know, Mike, I'm not going to lie. I haven't really thought about it this week. I always like to do our thinking here, on the spot, fresh. And right off the top of my head, man, not a lot of people come to mind, just to be completely honest with you, because all the baby faces I can think of, you know, there's Boogie Woogie, man. You know, you maybe could have pulled the Raging Bull back to a baby at this point. You know, maybe bring him back. I just don't know if any of them would have had the same kind of impact.
No.
I really cannot.
Definitely not. Boogie at that time, he was just too deep into
Paul Jones.
Yeah,
right.
That was the big feud.
Right.
Manny had just turned.
So it would have lost its importance. It lost its impact right off the bat.
Yeah.
Man, I like I said, Mike, I can't think of too many other than a Horseman. You know, an Arn or a Tully maybe. Flair, obviously, I don't think that would have worked. You know, just given but maybe.
Hey,
maybe.
You know,
Flair might have been a huge deal. I mean, you know, Flair's not only is he joining up with Dusty, but he's also, you know, going in against his former Horsemen or former tag team partners with Ole and J.J. Dillon.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I
said, turn the Horsemen, as hot as they were,
it would have been suicide.
Yeah.
And I think
pure suicide.
And if you were going to do it, I think Tully would have been a better, just because of Magnum and Tully's heat. You know, I think you could have even had that little respect. Maybe.
Tully was just, God. I think of all the heels at that time. To me, Tully was it as far as a heel.
White hot.
He was the. He was the. If you want the mold,
look to Tully.
Yep. Because there was nothing, you know, and this was a time where, you know, heels are getting cheered.
Right.
Started getting cheered.
Especially the Horsemen.
Yeah.
Especially the
Horsemen would get cheered. You know, in the midnights. It depended on where we're at.
Yeah.
You know, it really depend. Rudin
Bull got cheered a
Bull.
lot, man. Yes. I mean, yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, this is about that time where you started seeing that.
But Tully,
he was hot, man. He was white.
You just could not. At that time, you could not get behind Tully because he was had so much heat.
Heat on him. And,
yeah.
You know,
and you didn't want to because he was
too good at it.
Cocky, arrogant, just.
Oh yeah, he had the money.
Yes.
He had the girl.
Yeah.
He had the titles.
Right.
You know, I mean, and bragged about it. That's what I hated about the Horsemen. Man, when Ric Flair and Rick was a master of it.
Yeah.
You know, when Rick did it with a little bit of style. Rick did it with some coolness. When Tully did it, he was like, for lack of a better term, he was like, fuck all of y'all.
Yeah.
I have more money than you. Rick would say it too, but Rick would say it with a smile on his face.
I'm better.
Yeah.
I'm better.
Man, perfect. That's it. Bottom line. I am better than you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Because, you know, like I said, when Flair would do it, you know, my shoes cost one in your house, Flair would do it with a little smile. He would always do it with a little bit of that.
Yep.
When Tully did it, brother, it was 100%. I am better than you. You don't deserve to breathe the oxygen I'm breathing.
No.
You know. But, you know, let's get back to it and just think about who are some people. I think Barry, maybe.
Well, I think Barry was just coming in at that point. He was still in Florida.
Right.
I think he had already departed for some time from the WWE, WWF at that time, with the American Express. But he was in Florida working at that time, just coming in, kind of building himself up. I think it wouldn't be long after that him and Ronnie Garvin won the U.S. tag titles.
Right.
From the Russians.
Right. Ironically,
you know, from Ivan and Crusher.
Crusher Khrushchev at this time.
Yes.
Correct. Another Minnesotan.
Right, exactly.
Barry Darso.
There you go.
Yeah, yes,
Barry
sir.
Darso.
Yes, sir.
So you had him. You had his younger brother, Kendall.
The string bean. He's not a string bean anymore.
No, that was the crazy thing. Kendall could not gain any weight at that point until WCW 1996, 97?
When they started the West Texas Outlaw game, when he came back, and he was a hoss, man.
Yeah.
He was the most intimidating one on the crew. By any means, man. I mean, Kendall Winham was, in fact, I was like, that's Kendall?
Yeah.
It's like, damn, what happened?
It wasn't like he was steroided out or anything.
No. He's a naturally big guy, but man.
How the hell that happened?
Dude, he could have gone through a picket fence. I mean, he could literally walk straight through. You couldn't put him in jail, man. He could walk through the bars. I mean, really, man. You'd have to put him in a straight up box if you're ever going to incarcerate this man. But dude, he got big.
He made Sam Houston look like he made Sam Houston look like Luger.
Yeah, for real though. Real. I mean, man, it's like how many Sam Houstons and Kendall Williams can you put in a phone booth? All of them, man. I mean, come on. I mean, these guys literally.
How many you got?
Yeah, I think there's two. I think. Yeah. Like I say, man, they could both walk through a picket fence.
All right.
But yeah, Kendall, man, he got huge as time went on. Barry, but I don't know if Barry would have had the momentum. Because you got to remember, Mike, the thing about this is you got to get the people to try not to grieve Magnum as much as well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, man? This isn't just about replacing the man. This is about trying to help the grieving process.
Right, yeah.
So, Barry,
it would have felt like trying to replace.
It would have been more of a replacement.
Which would eventually kind of happen with Barry.
Barry did kind of take that spot.
Take that role as their, besides Dusty, of course, right. But as far as trying to fill that spot of their top baby.
Would have been right.
Yeah.
So
they're good looking.
You're right, young man who can go.
Yeah.
The talent's there, the charisma was there.
Right.
Barry was no pun intended, because it's about to segue into my next suggestion. But Barry was a total package.
Right.
Speaking of total packages.
Okay.
What about Lex Luger?
Luger wasn't in. He was in Florida.
Okay, so this was still not using resources.
This is pre them courting
for
Luger for the Horseman.
I got you. Got you.
So he's still down in Florida. In fact, I don't know if he's still in that feud with like Sir Oliver Humperdinck.
Oh, that's right.
That group,
right,
with Brody. The infamous cage match with him and Brody.
Brody just kind of... Is that the one where he just leaves?
Luger just hopped over the cage and left.
Yeah. Yeah, that's online, people. That's on you. We'll find a link. We'll put that link.
Yeah,
that's a
infamous.
trip, man.
That's infamous.
Yeah, that is a trip.
But there again, though, they could have brought him up.
That's what I'm saying.
He wouldn't have had... Because a lot of people didn't know Luger...
Outside the magazines.
Outside of Florida.
That's true.
So it would have been kind of one of those deals, who's this guy?
Yeah, I mean, big guy.
Big guy.
Man. I hated Lex Luger. For whatever reason, I hated kayfabe hated Lex Luger. But, if I've gotten older, and I know we're going to do an episode eventually about our Hall of Fame picks, but I think, man, Lex Luger deserves to be in that Hall of Fame. I do. I mean, man, he was a big, big deal. I think he has a spot.
I argue that one. I think there's a lot more that should be put ahead of him.
But
right?
We'll get to that. Yeah. Exactly. That's a whole other thing, man.
Right.
Yeah. So I wonder. So just right off the top, man, people like Ronnie Garvin, I just don't think it would put it over, because Ronnie was already a good guy. He was already known.
He's already in that. Wahoo was another one that.
Yeah.
I don't think.
It's almost like you would have to have a turn. It feels...
Well, no, because there are others there at that time, or in or around there.
Right.
There's a particular man in Crockett at that time that is baby, that could have been Dusty's partner, but Dusty chose not to, and it would have later ramifications.
All right.
Captain Redneck.
The Dick Murdoch, man. I was going to bring him up. Once again, man, one of my all-time favorites. That's the thing about Captain Redneck. Whichever side of the fence he was working, baby or heel, He never changed his style.
Nope.
He never changed the way he talked.
Nope.
And he put them both over equally, man. In other words, you thought when he was a baby, you could go up to him and he would be your best friend, put his arm around you, do anything in the world for you. When he was a heel, you think he would snap your neck, man, just for looking at him wrong. And it was the same thing.
Right.
Both ways, he was always Captain Redneck.
Yes.
Though, Mike, but at the same time,
And
man,
here's the history. The history there between Dusty and
the
Murdoch.
Outlaws,
Texas Outlaws.
which Dusty would always bring up.
Yes.
Dusty never let that go.
Right.
So in other words, people knew about it.
Oh yeah.
It was known. Man, it wasn't something like they were trying to hide or not bring back up. Dusty would talk about him and Murdoch being tag team partners very, very often. But let me ask you though, Mike, my only concern with Captain Redneck, even though I think it would have been a good choice, I really do.
Yeah.
I think him going after Nikita for that U.S. title, we talked about that last week. Jeez, man, you talked about something that didn't happen that would have been amazing if it did happen. But my only concern, man, would it not fall into the same kind of situation that a Ronnie Garvin or a Wahoo might fall into? It's like, well, we know him. He's already a good guy.
Right.
He already has this established feuds. I think Ivan maybe at this time. I can't remember who he was.
No, actually he was kind of feuding at that time with the Horseman and Flair.
That's right. Him and Flair were having some series of matches. That's correct. So I don't know, man. Do you think it would have?
I think it would have been a good one night spot.
Right.
I think it would have been a good match. It would have been just all hell breaking loose.
And it definitely could have set up for that Captain Redneck and Nikita U.S. title. I mean, again, for real. But one thing about it though, Mike. Let's kind of go. Let's stay in the realm of reality here before we start getting into fantasy land. So let's talk about the ramifications for Nikita. Let's just say a Captain Redneck.
All right.
Let's say we bring him in because I think with the people that we've talked about, that's probably the one I would like to have saw. Out of the Lex Lugers, Barry Windham's, Wahoo McDaniels, out of everybody we've talked about, if I had to pick one, it would be Captain Redneck.
Right.
Without a doubt.
Right.
Without a doubt. So where would this leave Nikita? He's still a heel, still the biggest heel.
Still U.S. champion.
Still the U.S. heavyweight champion.
Right.
We could see him going in that feud with Captain Redneck.
Could possibly. I think a better fit, and it's a weird fit, and it's a weird Starrcade scenario. What if, Murdoch and Flair at Starrcade?
I think that would have been over. I think that would have been huge, man, because Dick Murdoch had it. He had the charisma to push it, man. He could, and Dusty having that rub, I could totally see it. Not only could I see it, but I could see Murdoch taking it. I could for a brief moment. A brief moment.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't see Murdoch taking it and running with it.
No.
Like a Magnum.
Right.
I don't think he could have stepped into that role.
Yeah.
I could definitely see him popping the crowd.
Yeah.
And I could see Rick taking it back in about 3 weeks.
Right.
I think that would have been huge, man. That would have been a huge. But let me ask you, where would that leave Nikita during Starrcade?
I think you've got a couple of options here. You could have switched gears and instead of Dusty and Tully, but I think Dusty and Tully needed to happen.
That was hot, man.
That needed to happen. Could have put him with Dusty for that U.S. title.
Yeah.
But there again, you could have brought up a new fresh baby
Lex and Nikita.
You could have brought up fresh new baby Barry
too.
Yeah.
Man, just out of those two options, even though I think Barry would have been a better overall match as far as psychology goes, I could see this huge Lex Luger coming in, bodybuilder, saying, I could see Dusty's like, well, you're a monster, Nikita. I went and I got me a monster.
Right.
I could see that on the logic, psychological side make more sense. Even though I think Barry, and let's just be honest, man, Barry could work a 10-star match with a broom.
Right.
That was the thing about Barry. He was, in my opinion, just as good as Flair.
Right.
Which is why they were so great together.
Yeah.
Out of those two, I think a Lex Luger would have been a better. But then again, man, we just talked about Nikita and Lex put on great matches.
Yeah.
They did. Except this time we would just reverse the roles.
Yeah. But it would be almost a year later before that would happen.
That's true. After Lex got some...
he had to get some experience in.
It'd been real green.
And both of them, too.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, both of them did.
Right.
Had more experience under their belts, as far as working. And but yeah, it seems soon for Lex and that
Yeah.
kind of a big deal role.
Because you're going to be spotlight. Because you're going after that title right off the bat, you know. But now at the same time, Mike, we could play devil's advocate and say, you know, when Lex came in as a associate of the Horsemen, that was a pretty big deal too.
Oh yeah,
you know, that was
for sure.
That was a hell of an introduction, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. Of course, you know,
he had a little bit more time.
He had Tom, and he had the Horsemen with him,
right, to help guide him and teach him.
Right.
And
you notice a lot of those 6-man matches.
He's
Tully and
on
Arn.
the outside a lot.
Tully and Arn are with him
all the time.
Yeah.
And like I said, he would usually be the one to come in and win the match.
Right.
And Arn would be the workhorse, and
Yep.
then Tully would kind of fill in a little bit, which, you know, par for the course, man.
Absolutely.
It's one thing you got to love about Tully and Arn, man. Those guys knew their roles.
Give and take. Give and take.
Yes, sir. And it worked for them.
Yep.
Look how well. I mean, man, these guys are legends and always will be legends,
Yeah.
you know. And so, well, let's think about Barry in that role.
Okay.
I don't know if it would have gotten as over as a Luger. And I'm thinking physical appearance here, Mike. You know, the physical presentation is such a big deal.
He was so God.
That he was so good, man.
He was so good, and he was that you know, good-looking kid that girls loved him.
It. Yeah, the guys
Yeah.
wanted to be like him. You know,
and
they
the guys,
respected him.
Yeah, you know, they didn't hate on Barry.
No, not at all, man. No.
They didn't hate on Barry.
Not at all.
Because Barry was so good, and he was tough, and he just worked.
And he would give you so much. I mean, you know, if him and Nikita could have had a good feud with Nikita's the heel, you know how well Barry would have put him over, man.
Yeah.
That's one thing about Barry that I always really, just like Ricky Morton. He was one of the better sellers. He would give you so much.
Right.
And Nikita, man, he would make Nikita look unstoppable.
Yeah.
And if he could have come back and got that win over Nikita, it would have popped the place. Yeah, man, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we got different avenues for Nikita. You know, I can even maybe see Nikita and Ronnie Garvin having a little go at it.
Yeah.
Because Ronnie was tough, man.
He was tough, and he was having some great matches with Tully.
Oh, yeah, man.
You know, and at that Starrcade, he had the street fight with Big Bubba.
Yeah, and that was great.
That was a great one.
I mean, you know, Ronnie I could see, but...
Yeah. Of course, you know, that was leading up to their feud with... you know, the Garvins.
Right.
You know, they were really singling out Ronnie.
Right. Because this was right before the Fireball of Doom happened,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Cosmic Ball.
Yeah, right. And Jesus, man,
as
is that
Dennis,
not one of the most realistic things you've ever seen on television?
As Dennis Condren calls it, the Cosmic Fireball.
I think Corny used a couple too many pieces of flash paper on that thing, man.
Well, man,
because it stuck to Ronnie's face, man. It's beautiful, man. It was perfect.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
You know. Well, Mike, man, can you think of any other people that will be within the realm of reality? You know,
As far as in-house?
as far as like in-house, and you know, man, I could even go as far as say maybe some of the Florida guys, somebody that would have been easily brought into it.
Okay.
You know.
Let's talk about a few people, because, you know, of course, Dusty and Crockett had working relationships with a lot of the territories down there in Florida. Texas.
Texas was
I don't know. About that time, I think Texas had pulled out from the NWA.
Because them and AWA had started doing some...
I want to think maybe.
Yeah,
they
did Star
at that
Wars,
time.
I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, it's almost like the AWA and World Class are trying to... And with Memphis as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think Memphis was involved with that as well. Right. But
UWF, Mid-South.
Yeah.
Of course, they were working with Watts.
Dundee's, Central States, was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were working with them. Seems like even maybe the Hawaii territory, possibly.
I don't know how much on that one.
I can't remember, man. I don't know. But I know they definitely had some Watts stuff.
Yes.
The Bill Dundee's territory,
Right.
I know they worked with them, and obviously Florida.
Graham, yeah.
Right, yes, sir.
Let's talk. Okay, another Florida guy. You know, Dusty's went against and tagged with, and fights side by side with Dick Slater.
Dirty
yes. Dick Slater.
Yes. And I know you are a huge fan of Dick Slater.
I love Dick Slater, man.
I think, man, I don't want to look too far ahead, but I want to do that Slater show soon.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking forward to that, because this is going to be an experience for me where I can just sit back
Not a lot of
just ask questions.
Yeah,
you know.
not a lot of people are high on Dick Slater. I absolutely love Dick Slater, whether it was a face or a heel.
You know, Mike, if I had to list all of my favorite wrestlers, Dick Slater would be very low. It would. He'd be very low at the bottom.
Yeah.
It just would be, man.
Yeah.
That's why I cannot wait to do this podcast. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and call it, man. We're gonna do at least a 2-parter.
Yeah.
On Dick, but
Yeah.
but I'm gonna let you continue, man, with Slater. Yes.
Okay. I mean, Slater had history, obviously. There. A lot of his history was against Tully. And I think he's just one of those wild guys that it would have fit in that cage role. For that night, it would have been good.
Right.
For that night, it would have been.
For that one, at least a one-off.
Right.
At least.
Right.
At the very least, just
Yeah.
a one-off. Right.
Dick would have been a good guy to have go against Nikita at
Right.
Starrcade for the U.S. title.
Right.
I think that would have worked out really well. I don't think he would have taken it. I think he probably would have gone and done something else.
Right.
Probably just right after that, because Slater didn't stay in
I was
one
gonna
territory
say,
for a
man,
long time.
He was kind of a rambler.
Yeah.
Right. He'd kind of go from place to place.
Right.
Right. But just talk about coming in, popping the crowd,
Right.
helping him get over Magnum's accident, and putting over this match with Nikita, man. It could have been big.
Right.
It could have been really big.
Yeah.
So let's say, all right, man. So there's a couple. Anybody else, man?
Well, speaking of Watson, that territory,
Dr. Death, maybe.
I thought about Dr. Death. But Dr. Death was not really well known in this area.
Not at that time, man. He really was. Even though he was
super huge.
He was the shit, man.
He
I love
was.
Dr. Death, man.
He was huge. It wouldn't be until a year later that people really started knowing who
Right.
Dr. Death was in this area.
Right.
But they did know who Cowboy Bill Watts was.
Yeah. Yes, they did. Oh, hell. That would have been awesome, man. I didn't even think about Bill Watts.
Yeah.
Coming out of retirement.
Yeah.
Big Cowboy Bill.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, Mike, would he have been too old at the time?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. About
Because the same time around this same time year, he came out of retirement to battle Eddie Gilbert and the Russians.
That's right, in UWF.
That's
right, man, because we just watched video of that a couple weeks ago, man, and the guy was in tremendous shape.
Yeah.
He was probably in his 40s, I'd say. Maybe late 40s, give or take.
Wow.
I don't know.
I don't know how old the Cowboy was at that time. I would say probably late 40s, early 50s.
Early 50s, give or take. Still in good shape, man.
Yeah.
Good,
Oh,
I mean, he was
absolutely.
still a hoss,
Yeah.
man, and it's
Yeah.
still believable.
Yeah.
Damn, I couldn't even imagine seeing... Now, I'm going to be honest with you, Mike. I was familiar with Bill Watts, but I didn't really know his history
Right.
at this time. But I knew of him.
Right.
Now, man, that could have been huge because he
Oh,
had
yeah.
so much history behind him.
Yeah.
And if you'd have put that out there, that could have been badass,
Yeah.
man. That could have been really badass.
Cowboy from Oklahoma and Cowboy from Texas.
Let me ask you about this person. Now that we're starting to kind of talk about UWF and we've already kind of discussed Dr. Death, which I agree. I don't think Dr. Death would have been the best.
Right.
I don't think this guy would have been either. But let's bring him up.
Okay.
Eddie Gilbert.
Eddie, gosh.
Because I loved Eddie Gilbert.
I loved Eddie
man.
Gilbert, man. He's another one of those guys like Slater. I loved Eddie Gilbert.
Just maybe he doesn't get the recognition he deserves, man. I think the man was a genius.
Yes,
come to find
absolutely.
out, he was also a booker and a writer.
Mhm.
And man, some of his stuff was, I mean, he
Yeah.
got it, dude. If
Yeah.
anybody ever got professional wrestling, it was hot stuff.
Yes,
But-
absolutely.
And dude, the guy was not big. Like man, me and him
No.
were probably about the same
No.
size. Honest to
Yeah.
God, man. I
Yeah.
mean, he was
No.
a short in stature, not a big muscle guy.
But
he
his
could work.
projection.
God Almighty, man.
His projection.
And he was one of those few guys who could be a manager or a wrestler
Yeah.
and put it over either
Yeah,
way, man.
absolutely.
The man knew his stuff. And that's
Yep.
why I can't help but wonder if Hot Stuff would have been a good... Because we knew of Hot Stuff. We knew who he was. We
Right.
heard about
Yeah.
him, you know. Man, that might be another possibility.
Yeah.
Just saying. I don't know.
And it would be about a year later that I think Eddie would be in NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions.
Right.
Along with a lot of the other
Like Dr. Death.
Dr. Death.
Right.
Um,
Terry Gordy, had kind of split from the Freebirds around about this time and was doing a singles run.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and maybe Terry, I don't know.
Well, that was another.
Or Michael
I
Hayes.
thought about Gordy. Thought about Hayes.
Those, either one.
Either one. Gordy would have been great for the cage.
I think so, man. I think Gordy could have also stacked up against Nikita a little bit better.
Oh, yeah.
Because the thing about Michael Hayes is, and this is it's kind of strange because I'm really about to put Michael Hayes over, but I think he was so over.
All right.
Such a personality, had so much charisma. I think would have been lost in that angle, to be completely honest with you, man. Because, that's one thing about Nikita. He was quiet.
Yep.
He didn't have to Chakotay. That's all I had to say.
Yep.
But, man, you got Michael Hayes who had the gift of gab.
Right.
Almost like Jimmy Garvin, man. I think Jimmy Garvin may have been a little wasted on him.
Right.
Oh,
absolutely.
The way Jimmy turned was perfect, man. You'll never get a better turn.
No.
Ever.
That's one that worked and worked for a long term.
Yes.
For
man.
sure.
Yes. It took Jimmy Garvin to a whole new level. We'll talk about all that stuff later, man. I know we can talk about heel turns and face turns later on. So right now, man.
Here's another one. Kind of that Florida guy. He was down in Florida at that time. Had some history with Dusty. Absolutely had history with Flair and Jim Crockett Promotions. Blackjack Mulligan.
Oh, dude, that would have been huge too.
Absolutely.
Everybody knew who Blackjack was.
Yes.
Everybody knew Blackjack. Hell, man, that could have been a good way to bring Barry in, too.
It
You could have brought him in at the same time, man. Be like, here I am, and here's my boy.
Here's the Wyndhams. Here. Oh, they're
We're all coming.
Oh, my God.
The whole family's in.
The whole family. And that was the thing. That was the family.
It was. Legit.
That was the family.
And everybody knew it, man.
Yeah.
This was straight shoot, man.
Yeah.
And everybody knew that these guys were legit family.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the family coming in to take that belt from Nikita?
Or how about this? Just, in that one night, and the whole family coming in with Dusty
to take on the Horsemen. God almighty, man. You talking Kendall, Barry, Blackjack, and Big Dust against the Horsemen?
Right.
Brother, it would have blew the place off. It would have just blew it off the map, man.
Yep.
It would have been so good. So let me ask you, Mike, of the people we've discussed, let's kind of run a few of them down. We've talked about Bill Watts.
Yes.
We've talked about we talked a little bit about Dr. Death, but we've also talked about Lex Luger and Barry Windham. I think Ronnie Garvin we may have said, but I think we both agree that Ronnie probably not. Out of the ones that we've talked about today, Dick Slater was another one.
Slater.
Out of those, man, if you had to pick one, and like I said, we're staying within the realm of reality. We're staying within the realm of the resources that they did have available, or that would have been a little easier to have. Is there one person out of that list that you would say this was who I think would be the absolute best one?
For the long term?
Yes.
For the long term, I'd have to say Barry.
Really, I would go with Lex, man.
Really?
I think Barry would be my second. Bill Watts maybe third. And man, see, one thing I do, Puds, if you haven't picked it up yet, I tend to waffle a little bit. I don't know if you guys noticed last week about my Ric Flair talk, but I went from, I don't think Rick would have been that over until 5 minutes later. Man, Ric Flair's the greatest,
Absolutely.
That's what I love about the podcast, man. It's just cool to bring that stuff up and hear it, man. You can even talk yourself in and out of things.
You can.
Because I'm thinking about the Dick Murdoch now, because I'm thinking, man, that could have went on, and he could have went after Flair or after Nikita. Bill Watts, man, how big would that have been? The man's coming out of retirement,
but he's got his own company that he's running as well.
Right.
That's good for a one-shot deal,
and that's it. Correct. Yeah. And that could have even maybe went into the UWF buyout, which I do want to do a podcast on that, because I have some strong opinions on the UWF thing.
Yeah.
I love Dusty Rhodes. I say it every week. I'll say it again. But man, the man did drop some balls. I think UWF was one of the biggest drop balls of all time in any era of professional wrestling. But we'll get to that. I got to go with Lex, though, man.
Okay.
And the reason I go with Lex is because even though he still wasn't known in Crockett, we knew of him through the magazines. And, man, once again, so what you want to about Lex, I was never a huge fan. But, Jesus, brother, he had the marketing and he had the machine behind him in Florida.
Right.
I mean, PWI was all over him. I mean, he was having centerfolds and stuff before he even went into Crockett's, And usually, man, you'd have to be in one of the higher tier territories before you started getting some of this recognition.
Right.
And, man, he was getting it his rookie year.
Yeah.
And you put on top of that his body
Oh.
versus Nikita's body.
Yeah.
I could see Dusty like, you're a monster. I had to get a monster myself. And here he is. And even when Lex came in as a heel with the Horsemen, I never felt that he was the best heel he could have been.
Right.
In other words, I always thought Lex made a much better baby face.
Yeah.
at least in that time.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
So
He definitely fit that mold better. He would have been. I know that's what they were shooting for. Eventually, later down the road, for Lex to be their Hogan.
yes, right. Even WWE tried to make him their Hogan.
Hey-o! I mean, you know,
oh boy, Lex
but
Express.
it just didn't happen.
It was almost like Lex had everything, but there was one thing, and I don't know what that one, because he had the it factor, man. The man had charisma.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he had the best charisma, but he had it.
He had
it. He didn't have Flair charisma.
No.
But he had it.
He didn't have Hogan charisma.
No, or Sting charisma.
Right.
Or Shawn Michaels. Well, maybe the man didn't have charisma.
All right, let's waffle.
Yeah, let's
get some more.
a little bit.
Let's get some more. Let's get some more waffles in here,
you got
please.
Any syrup? You got any syrup from them waffles?
Yeah.
Just not the salty kind, because I get a little salty.
All right.
But I still do though, man. I just think that Lex would have been given somebody realistically that they could have got. I think Lex would have been the best. I think Barry would be right there with him, man. I think as far as overall bell to bell not storyline, but bell to bell matches, I think Barry would have been your best. I think storylines and psychology, I think I'd give it to Lex just by a hair.
Okay.
So now, Mike, we talked about the realistic
right.
people. This is what I want to get into, man.
Okay.
If you're ready, man, if you're ready to switch gears a little bit, I wouldn't mind maybe getting to a little bit of fantasy land. So let's just say
let's do that.
You have open resources, man. You can pick any professional wrestler from any territory, including WWE, including World Class,
right.
including AWA. There's no object here.
Right.
The only thing maybe we don't want to say Hogan, because that's kind of cheating.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? We
not,
know that would mean
you're not getting that.
No, man, that's just no. But let's say anybody else.
Okay.
So Mike, we're watching that Charlotte match. We see JJ and Ole. Well, let's just say a horseman. Let's say they keep it Arn and Ole. Whatever. We see two horsemen. Magnum tragically has his accident. We see Dusty walking to the ring.
All right.
Who's behind Dusty?
Brody. Bruiser
Whoa,
Brody.
Man, you hitting me with a big one, bro.
Bruiser Brody.
Right off the bat, man.
Bruiser Brody.
Wow. Talk to me, man. Convince me.
I mean
I don't need convincing, but wow.
Yeah. Bruiser Brody.
That would have been amazing, man.
Yeah.
Especially if you had his intro music, the Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin, which we missed on our music show.
We did?
Jesus. But we got Master P.
Yeah, we got Master P in there. So,
Mike, that's going to bother me for a long time, brother.
Oh, I knew it was going to be a big one, and we were going to miss a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we did. But Brody, man.
Brody. Absolutely.
Wow.
You're talking about coming in monster.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been...
You're bringing in the mercenary at that point.
And not only that, but let's think about the after effects. Let's think about Nikita versus Brody coming up. Because you know what's coming. Definitely coming. Let's talk about Brody and Flair.
Yeah.
It's definitely coming.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah.
Now, we're also using this... I know we're in fantasy la-la land here, but we're also talking about a perfect scenario. In other words, Brody's not just going to up and leave.
Right.
You know, like he kind of had a little bit of a
reputation for not being
very dependable.
Right.
Let's say. We're just saying perfect case scenario, man. This guy's going to come in. He's going to do exactly what we want. Wow, man, that's a good one, Mike.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Well, I have a little different one. I have one, and I know we've talked about this. Once again, man, I'm keeping this within the realm of a perfect scenario. We're not talking about personal situations or issues or demons, as people call it. We're not talking about people who would want to move or not move. I think Kerry Von Erich would have been the perfect choice, man.
Yeah.
Kerry, in my opinion, is probably the most tragic wrestling story that never happened.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because he was he was a champion, man. He beat Ric Flair. He was a NWA world champion. The guy, I mean, those Von Erichs, man, it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
The entire Von Erich story is just tragic. But Kerry, like Magnum, I feel Kerry and Magnum were very similar in a lot of ways. And I think the top way that they were similar is both these guys had absolutely every... Well, what's the word I'm looking for, man? Had every advantage of being more than a professional wrestler. I think both these guys could have been action movie stars. I think they both could have been television stars. I think both these guys could have been mainstream, and not only mainstream, Mike Payne, but I'm saying mainstream, higher level, like The Rock. I go back to The Rock. How The Rock is the number one guy in Hollywood.
Yes.
I think Carrie Von Erich looked like freaking Tarzan, man. I would literally see him when I was a kid thinking that is a superhero.
He was a modern day warrior.
He was the modern day warrior, man. And he had the charisma. He did have all these factors. And I think if they could have brought him out, I think that could have opened up an entire new legacy and era. Even maybe it's even a little further than Brody, man.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that, I think Brody would have came in with, I mean, I didn't know that. This is the first time you ever said this to me. I'm like, holy shit, man, that's good. You know, that's really good. And I think it would have popped the crowd and been over, and it would have carried hard and heavy. But I think Kerry could have been that next Magnum. He could have been the one that could have escalated it. I don't know. Bruiser Brody could have had that same mainstream attraction.
Right.
But I think for the fans,
the
fans, man, would have, Jesus Christ.
It would have been great.
Dude, I'd have cut a backflip.
Yeah.
If Bruiser Brody would come out swinging that chain to the Immigrant Song, dude, I'm dead.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I hear that Rush song hit, and he comes out with Dusty, Jesus, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that could have just... Him and Flair at Starrcade in the rematch, because they could always say this is a rematch for that world title. It writes itself, man.
Right.
It writes itself.
Yeah.
You know. Well, let me ask you, Mike. Is there anybody else? That's my top choice.
All right. I'm not going to shock you as much this time. I'm going to kind of roller coaster this. Let's say Lawler, Jerry Lawler.
I could see that,
the King.
man. I could absolutely see that.
Well, you know,
Absolutely.
and you know, you've seen it, yourself when Dusty, Magnum, and Lawler had a match.
Yes.
6-man match.
Yes.
6-man bunkhouse
match
against Tully, Ole, and Arn in Memphis. In Memphis.
Right.
Tore the place down.
Yeah, man, and a lot of people didn't even know. Well, they know who these people were.
They knew who Dusty was.
But they didn't see him on their syndication.
Right, exactly.
That was the thing, man. Yeah, there's a really classic photo floating around the internet of those three together.
Yeah.
And it is tremendous, man.
Well, the video's on YouTube.
Okay.
Full match.
Oh, I didn't know it was all available. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Well, I'll do a little homework when I'm
here. They tore the place down, for sure.
So, Mike, let me ask you about another wrestler.
Yes.
That once again, man, this is perfect case scenarios, it's, et cetera, et cetera. What about Roddy Piper?
That's one you have to. Wow, that's.
What would that have
pulling.
been like?
He had history.
Yes, people knew him in
Crockett.
In the Crockett's, they
yes.
knew him. Yes, he was huge, man, in WWE.
Yes.
Roddy Piper is one of those few wrestlers, Mike, and I think you would agree with me on this, who actually became an icon.
Yes.
There's only a handful, man.
Right.
Macho Man, Hogan, and Flair. That's about the only ones I can really consider, man, to have reached icon status.
Austin.
Oh, I'm sorry, Austin and The Rock.
Rock.
And The Rock. Yeah, I should have. Yeah, I should have.
But from that era,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I would say, I wouldn't even put Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart in that category because they're wrestling.
Right.
People know who Roddy Piper is. Roddy Piper was in a movie.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Roddy Piper has been all over the place. He's not just a professional wrestler, man. He was a celebrity. He was an icon.
Yes.
God rest his soul, But I think, man, if you could have brought Roddy Piper out, I still think Kerry would have been the best for the overall, moving
that would have been
forward.
Huge. That would have been huge. That would have been huge for Crockett.
Oh, that would have put him over the top, man, without a doubt.
Yeah. And we could have seen Piper and Flair.
Yes, man, we could have saw that in the 80s, man, in the late 80s. And, brother, and at that time, with Piper being in the shape he was in and as over as he was, man, once again, I may waffle, and I may say Piper over Kerry, but I don't know, man. I'm staying pretty good with my Kerry because I do think Kerry would have just, like I said, man, when you look like that,
right,
then, man, there is no reason why you should not be on top of the world, man.
Well, since you're pulling talent from up north.
Oh, yeah.
Let's pull somebody else in who, again, history with Crockett, NWA, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Oh, dude. At that particular time?
Yeah.
That would have been huge, man, because that would have been right before his match with Macho Man.
Yes.
So he still not had that,
It's coming.
But it's on the way.
It's coming.
It's coming. It's at the beginning of 87, March of 87.
Because if I'm not mistaken, I think that's where they started the feud off with, Steamboat and
And the larynx?
Yeah.
The crushed larynx. That's
Right.
right, man. That'd have been around about that time. So imagine if he was on WWE TV with the crushed larynx one week, and a week later he's following Dusty down.
Oh my God.
Oh, Jesus,
Yeah.
man. Oh, Jesus. You play,
Yeah.
once again, a song we missed. You start playing that Alan Parsons Project song, Eye in the Sky,
Yeah.
and then you see Ricky Steamboat coming down. Jesus, dude.
Yeah.
So right now, man, so let's think about who we've mentioned. We've mentioned Brody. We've mentioned Von Erich.
Yes.
Piper.
Yes.
And now we just mentioned, oh shit, who was it?
Steamboat.
Steamboat, man. Oh God, I got a little sidetracked. So out of those four, well, let's think, man. Before we go any further, is there any other?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Jesus, man. There's an entire federation, man. You know?
Hey, let's play this thing up. Vince pulled some talent from everybody.
Why
let's
not
pull his
let's
talent
pull some
back.
Talent. Absolutely.
Jake the Snake Roberts.
Oh, dude. So once again, history, because he was
History.
out of Georgia,
Yep.
and they have that
And
close
he,
tie.
and he'd been in Crockett for some time.
Yes, man, and he's been on TBS. You know, people knew him.
Yeah.
Jake Roberts would have been huge, man. Here's something. Now, granted, I don't think this man was. Actually, I know this man was not the champion at the time, but there was talk that the Honky Tonk Man was being courted by Crockett.
Yeah.
While he was IC
I
champion.
believe so.
But then again, I don't know if I'd really have cared that
That
much for
would've
the
been-
Honky
that
Tonk
would've
Man
been-
coming out with
yeah.
Dusty. You
That
know,
would have been a lot, very, very strange.
it would have been a strange
At
thing,
that time,
man.
I think he would have still been. What was he still? Wayne Ferris in Memphis, or was
I think he was still Ferris. I don't think Honky Tonk could come in yet.
No.
I don't think.
not at that point?
I
'Cause
just-
it was sometime after that he started that and won the belt from Steamboat
Right.
after WrestleMania 3.
3, right. So
Right.
he was still probably, if he was in WWE, it wasn't by long.
No,
You know.
no.
Well, I know that we said we wasn't going to talk about this man, but what if, man, you turn around and you see Dusty Point, and then you see 6'5", 305 pounds of Hulk Hogan, man. What would I know it obviously, man. This is La La Land, but even in La La Land, you have to have a little bit of. you kind of want to have a little reality, but let's just go full blown, man. What would that have been like? What is as a kid, Mike?
Okay.
What now? I know what I would have done. I would have
Right.
shit myself, man.
Yeah.
If I'd have saw
Yeah.
Dusty and Hulk Hogan together,
That's true.
coming out, man, I would have hyperventilated.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. What would that have been? First of all, WWE they're gone
Done.
at that point, man, because they had
It's
no other
done.
talent. They had nobody they were trying to bring up to replace Hogan. There was nobody on Hogan's equal footing. WWE's gone, man.
It's
Vince
done.
is gone, man.
It's done.
We're seeing you.
Yeah. And it's over.
Flair and Hogan, Starrcade. Another drop ball from WWE, I might add, for WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you
That's
know,
true.
we'll talk about drop balls one day,
Yeah.
man. That's probably the top, honestly. But Jesus, man, what would that have been like in 1986?
That's the weird thing. I don't know. I don't know what it would have been like I don't know what it would have been like for Hulk Hogan to come into the Crockett
Peter
area.
Crockett's, because it's a completely different.
It's different, man.
But
I don't know that his. I
style,
don't know if it would have been open arms.
I could see that, but you know, I'm a Hogan.
Yeah,
mark.
I know.
I'm a huge Hogan. mark.
Absolutely.
Hogan was old school, man.
He could be.
He could be old
could
school.
Be.
You know,
He could be.
and he was used to those smaller territories, man. That's where he came out of Florida.
But you know as well as I do, the fans around here, it's
They-
like
ooh.
that fake ass northern bullshit.
Take
is-
that cartoon shit
take
out of
that
here.
cartoon shit out of here.
I can see that too.
That's we don't like that stuff.
But let me ask you this: what if right off the bat Hogan came in?
Uh-huh.
Let's say he goes up against. Holy Jesus, Mike! What if he's the one that goes against Nikita?
I mean, that's big. I mean, for sure, that's
Jeez,
big. That's
man.
huge.
But you know, Hulk was really quick about getting a blade job, man. What if he comes into Crockett, bleeds to hell? I'm telling you, Mike. I think the match him and Dr. Death David Schultz had,
Uh-huh.
and I know you know which one
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
talking about,
absolutely.
the classic blood.
Yeah.
I think that match could have been at a Starrcade, man.
Could have.
I really do.
Could have.
I
It wasn't your typical WWF match at that time.
No. And that's one thing, man, I'll always put Hogan over for that. Hogan would sell for you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, man, to be three, we just talked about Nikita not having to sell. Well, Hogan really didn't have to sell
No,
either.
he didn't.
But he did. He would give the guys their time
All right.
to shine. Then, of course, he made the comeback. He'd do what's right for business. He'd get over. But he would give you that, man. I don't think Hogan would have had as much trouble assimilating as you might think.
All right.
Now, I mean, it's an honest question, man, and it's an honest scenario. I think Hogan's issue, I think the fans' issue would probably be more with the way Hogan was marketed by Vince than Hogan's actual work rate. In other words, I think if you got Hogan back, man, I think he could get back to that style.
He could probably get back to it for sure. I mean, there's no problem with that. I think the fans' problem was that wrestling is just not like our wrestling.
It's not the same thing.
Wrestling.
It's fake.
Yeah.
It's hokey. It's cartoony.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think this is more.
They don't wrestle like our guys wrestle.
And that's the truth.
Yeah.
And that is the truth. And I think Hogan could get to that.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing about it, man, how long would it take to get back to that? Even if he
yeah.
did it right off the bat,
Right. Yeah.
you still have years
Mm-hmm.
of trying to fight that stereotype
Yeah.
that you've gained. Once again, man, I think it's one of those questions. It's like, damn, would it? This is
Right.
what I like about the what ifs here.
Well, I tell you what, I'll match your Hogan
Right.
and raise you an Andre.
What? Nah, man, that ain't fair, bro.
See why not? I don't see why not.
Wow.
Because, I mean, before that,
Woo.
I mean,
Okay.
Andre was used a lot as an attraction for
yes,
the
he
one
was.
shots.
Yes, he was, man. Him and
If
Dusty.
there was a big feud for somebody, and Dusty or say like Junkyard Dog or anybody that needed that extra little help,
he brought in Andre,
he
man.
brought in Andre.
Andre was immediate, and he was. Woo, man! Why did I not think? You know what I don't like about that mic? I didn't think of.
No, well,
That's the only thing I don't like. Wow,
you
man!
had to push my hand when you brought out the Hulkster.
I thought I threw down an ace of clubs, man. You threw down an ace of spades.
All right.
You killing me, man. That would have been hot, man.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing.
Oh,
man.
that would have been great for that night.
That night, man. But once again, my only issue with Andre, and I think you just brought it up, was how he was an attraction.
Right.
In other words, it's like how far could you take it?
Wasn't for long term.
It wouldn't have been for long, man. But you want to talk about popping the crowd, having a good little feud with Flair?
Yeah.
Because, I can see Flair chicken shitting his way out of that match and coming out bigger and hotter than he ever went in. That was one great thing about Andre, man.
Yeah.
And Flair, too. Giving Flair his props, man. I mean, Flair could go in there and chicken shit his way out of that match because everybody would know Andre's going to take this match.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
100%,
yeah,
man.
Yeah,
There's no way
yeah,
that Flair pulled some of his bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that would have been so
Boom.
hot.
Yeah.
But where do you go from there, with Andre? And well, now granted, this is perfect scenario. This isn't health issues and stuff. So I was going to go into some of his health issues around this time, but this is Kerry Von Erich would have been sober.
Right.
Andre the Giant would have been healthy.
Right.
In
a perfect world, in a perfect scenario.
Yes. If you could have took Andre in his prime,
right,
but with his but with his statue at that time, yeah, man, that would have been huge. Could you just imagine Dusty pointing to the back and you just see Andre towering?
Everybody knew who Andre was.
Oh, everybody, man.
He was another icon. Really?
Yes, yeah. No, you're right, man. Yes, you're all right. Absolutely. Hell, Mike, I'll go as far as say he was the first icon, man. Really? Yeah, I mean, at least for our modern era. Maybe you can go back to Gorgeous George or something back in the day. But for our era, without a doubt, man, Andre the Giant was the first real mainstream icon of professional wrestling. Yeah, without a doubt, man. In fact, I'm ashamed I forgot about him. When we were talking about him a little earlier, man, you're absolutely right with that. Totally give you that. God, man, hey, I'll tell you somebody else. It's a little bit of a downswing from going from Andre and Hogan. What about Hacksaw Jim Duggan? Because I loved Hacksaw, man, and that USA could have been great to go against Nikita or Flair.
That would have been good. I don't think Duggan was as known around here.
Right.
Just like in that Dr. Death scenario.
Yeah, true.
Ted DiBiase.
Another good one, man.
Yeah.
He would have been a great one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could just see Hacksaw. Because he wasn't in WWE yet at this point. He was still in Mid-South, correct?
He was still in Mid-South.
Okay. He might have been on his way.
Maybe. It wouldn't be long before he was up there.
Okay.
It wouldn't be long at all.
But man, now.
But another guy, a couple other guys that were down there, JYD. Of course, he was in WWF at that time.
Right.
But, from Mid South.
But he would have made a big impact coming back from WWE.
Hacksaw Butch Reed.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. That would have been a great matchup.
Hey, Flair would go down there and wrestle Reed.
Yes, sir.
They'd have great matches down there.
That would have been a good one, man. I still think JYD would have gotten over because JYD was so over, man.
Everybody knew.
Everybody knew JYD, man. I mean, he was on the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
He was on Saturday Night's Main Event. Man, that one, I would say, God, he's in that top tier. I would say, just as far as being. Now, once again, I don't know where the long term would have been.
Long term on that, maybe not so much.
As much, right? I think, man, of long terms, and I'm not trying to brag or put over my choice, but I still think Kerry, long term, would have been maybe the best choice,
all right.
Man. Roddy Piper, maybe.
But could you have taken Kerry away from World Class?
Oh, absolutely not, man. No. This is definitely fantasy land,
right.
Because at that time he was the king of Texas.
Yes.
Him and his brothers were royalty, man. I would even say Kerry was the top draw of the Von Erichs.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Once again, man, perfect scenario. Realistically, hell no. And do you blame them?
Right.
That was something else. They're like, well, the Von Erichs never left Texas. Like, well, why would you? I mean, they're making a ton of money.
Yeah.
They are rock stars.
Yeah.
Maybe they were too much rock stars. Like I said, you talk about a tragic. If anybody out there is listening is not familiar with the Von Erich story, do some YouTube and do a little research, guys. It's the saddest thing you'll ever read or hear about. Basically, of all the sons, and Mike, who all was the Von Erichs? Fritz was the father.
David,
Kevin,
Kerry, Mike, and Chris.
Now, out of all those, is Kevin the only one?
Yes.
Kevin is the only one still living.
Yes.
Kerry tragically committed suicide. I believe it was in 87 or 88. I can't remember. He was wrestling as the Texas Tornado in WWE at this time. And I believe was the Intercontinental Champion. I know he had won that title. I think he was holding the title when he unfortunately committed suicide. I can't remember.
I don't know that he was at that time.
I'm not sure, man. The time frame gets a little off, and something else that people may not know about Kerry Von Erich, and I know, Mike, you know this, but he actually wrestled with a prosthetic foot.
Yes.
He actually lost his foot in a motorcycle accident.
Yes.
This family, like I said, had just gone through so much tragedy, and it's really sad because everybody in this family was talented. Everybody could have just the sky was the limit. Like I said, with Kerry. Man, once again, his talent, his look, his charisma, and his family, he could have been another Sylvester Stallone, in my opinion.
Right.
He really
absolutely.
could have been, man. It's just one of those tragedies. Even Lacey Von Erich, his daughter, she was involved in the business for a little while. I think she actually retired. Unfortunately, man, I saw a little bit of her work. Not the greatest in-ring worker. Beautiful woman, man. Yeah. Lacey's a beautiful, beautiful woman. But just didn't work out for her as far as the business goes. But yeah, people, if you haven't checked out on the Von Erichs, look into that and just be prepared to be sad. I mean, if you decide to read up on it, man, just go ahead and be bummed out, man, because it's going to break your heart. But
right.
Well, Mike, man, is there anybody else that you can think of right off? I think
there's a few.
I've got
a few more in the bag that I'm going to be pulling out here.
All right.
So we talked about a lot of the guys that are associated with Crockett and the history there. One of the biggest ones that comes to my mind, he's got history with Dusty, he's got history with Flair, Harley Race.
Ooh, wow, man, because Harley at this point had kind of dropped off. And I know he became the king. King Harley Race.
King Harley.
Man, that's another one I didn't think about. That place would have erupted.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was still fresh, man. Everybody remembered Harley Race.
Yeah.
Everybody knew Harley Race was.
7-time world champion.
You're not going to be forgotten.
No.
Man. Well, even when they brought him into WWE, man, he was known as the King.
Yeah.
I mean, and brother, if there was anybody who did not look like an actual to God king, it was Harley, king of the beer drinkers.
Yeah.
I mean really, man.
Yeah.
King of the we'll whoop your asses or
right,
something,
yeah.
But actual royalty, nah, man. Harley Race was absolutely not royalty. Well, he was. He didn't look like royalty.
Yeah.
He was a rough individual, man.
Yeah.
In fact, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Mike, Andre the Giant was quoted as saying there was only 2 wrestlers that he feared. One was Haku, and everybody fears Haku.
Yep.
And the other was Harley Race.
Right.
So that ought to tell you something, man. When 7'3", 400-pound Andre the Giant, or however much he weighed, when he's scared of you,
Yeah.
then you're the real
That's
deal.
something.
You're the real deal.
That's something.
Yeah, and that would have, God, man, that could have gotten over big. Once again, God, I don't know. I'd have to consider. I'm gonna have to think on that one. I think it would get over. I still don't know if Harley would have been. It's almost like you want that young.
Oh
or,
yeah,
or
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
in other
you're
words,
looking for that. And like you said before, not a replacement.
Right.
Not looking for a replacement. But somebody to fill that spot.
Fill the spot, man. Not to be a fill-in,
Right.
but to actually take that spot for themselves.
Yeah.
Race, I'm afraid, in my opinion,
Right.
may have already been past that point.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
think you could have done it up until Starrcade. Give Harley the last run
at
Flair for the title.
Yeah.
Not get it, but
come really close. Maybe even take it to the hour.
Yep.
Even do a Broadway and even push it like Harley's got one more run in him.
Yeah.
Harley's going to take, and he's going to retire. You can even be like, I'm retiring.
Yeah.
I'm retiring with this
it.
belt.
This is it.
That would have been hot, man. That would have been really hot. But let me ask you though, Mike. I think you could have done that even without Magnum's accident. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In other words, I think that would have been
That would have been good.
That would have been really good. Just bring Harley back for that one more spot.
Right.
Hook him up with Dusty.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, I'm with you, Race. Yeah, I won the belt from you. I'm gonna help you get it back from Rick one more time. You know, and that would have been a good one, man.
Yeah.
I think that would have been really good. Man, there's some other ones out there.
All right, let's flip this whole thing around and go with another mercenary monster, Abdullah the Butcher.
Oh, I don't know, brother.
You have him go in the cage with Dusty?
I don't. Oh, I'm gonna be honest with you, Mike. I think that could have got hot. I would have marked out.
Yeah,
I would have. But I think of the others we've talked about, I think that might have had the least impact. And the reason I say it is we'd already seen Abdullah, and Abdullah had already kind of had his runs. I'll tell you this much, man. I think Nikita definitely would have been better than Abdullah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I do see where you're going with that, man. We're bringing in a mercenary. We're bringing in, hell, man, you can even maybe go as far as like Kamala or Kabuki with something like that.
Yeah.
In other words, we're getting into the Paul Jones era.
I thought about Kabuki.
Okay.
I thought about Kabuki, Kamala. Thought about that. But to me, the Abdullah the Butcher,
he was scarier.
He was a lot scarier.
He was scarier.
And you're going against the Andersons in that cage.
You kind of got to have something to balance it up. What about this one?
You imagine Abdullah and Oli just kind of going and no selling for each other.
Oh no, man! No, it'd be a bloodbath.
Yeah,
and it would literally that's when kayfabe or works versus shoots kind of start getting blurry.
Yeah,
because who would get over first?
Yeah,
man. That's actually not a bad one. I'm just over here thinking to myself, could that have? I don't know.
I think it could work for that night.
For that night, yeah. Once again, long term, man, maybe not.
No.
Where would you go from there? It's not really a foundation.
You couldn't go anywhere with that.
Not really, man. Not at that point. Now, granted, man, I know we're kind of getting a little out of our, sync or out of our timelines, but just talking about Kabuki made me think about Muda. You could have brought it. No, granted, Muda wasn't around. No, he wasn't. He wasn't at this time. He was still probably a year or so away, I would think.
Well, I think he was working in Florida, and I want to say it may have been. I don't want to say it was 86. I think he started working in Florida in like 87, 88.
Okay. So that might
and then he went into Crockett right around that in 88, beginning of 89.
Well, hey, man, how about this one? Well, and the thing about Muda, nobody really knew Muda yet.
No.
What about this one? I don't know if the impact would have been as good, but when you said Oli and Abdullah, it reminded me of somebody Oli had a feud with.
Mm-hmm.
What about Big Bubba Rogers?
Oh.
Because Bubba had just come out.
Uh-huh.
He was still fresh.
Right.
He was really intimidating, man.
Yeah.
The Cornette really put him over.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could have fit him in storyline wise, other than like Magnum brought me in. Maybe they can maybe try to do some sort of. But I think Bubba could have had
Money talks.
Money talks.
Money talks.
Once again, and I can still see. Well, I needed a monster. I got a monster.
Money talks.
I still, Mike. One thing as we're talking and we're starting to throw out more and more names. I think, man, the more names we're throwing out, probably the further away that we're getting from that original.
All right.
In other words, man, going from Bruiser Brody to Big Bubba.
Yeah.
We're kind of, I think we're kind of starting to get into like, well, about this person. But I think, man, going back to our original few choices, I think those are hard to top, man. Brody was a fuck. Man. Brody was good, man. I didn't even think about Brody.
But there's two more that I want to pop out.
All right.
Okay. That the potentials, what ifs, will be Stan Hansen.
Oh, dude. Yes.
That's tough.
That's a good one, man.
Yeah.
Damn, because especially him and Dusty could have that Texas.
Him and Dusty.
Yeah.
Him and Ole were tag partners
sir.
at one time, and they feuded heavy with each other at one time.
And he was so over, man.
Yeah.
And Stan Hansen was one of those few guys that was just not around as much as you wanted him around.
Right.
He was more in the AWA and Japan and stuff like that.
Wild man.
And everybody knew him.
Yep.
Everybody knew who Stan Hansen was. You didn't have to introduce him.
No.
You knew him, just like Brody. Brody's another one, man. You knew him.
Yep.
That's a good one, man. That's a good one.
My last one is in this crazy what if scenario, in this wild world, this bizarro world. Somebody that comes in that has had history with Crockett's, the NWA, has had tons of history with Dusty.
Big Mama.
No.
No, that would have been the shit.
She would have just come in and scratched everybody's eyes out.
Did a little titty shake and knock everybody out.
God almighty. Maybe it could have worked.
I think it would have been over, man.
This guy didn't particularly like Dusty.
Okay.
At all.
All right.
In fact, he
kind of hated him.
He hated his guts.
All right.
He called him an egg-sucking dog.
Well, this ain't Murdoch now, right?
No.
Okay, yeah.
No. It's Terry Funk.
Wow. Oh, wow. Once again, somebody you would not have to put over. I mean, they know who he is, has history with and against Dusty.
Mm-hmm.
Is crazy as shit, is legit.
Yeah.
Could have went after Flair a year or 2 years. Excuse me, that'd been about 2 years earlier, wouldn't it? A year and a half, 2 years? Almost 2 years?
Well, no. Let's see, 86, so that would have been probably about 3 years.
About 3, yeah. So you have about 3 years before. Yeah. Wow, man. Once again, Terry Funk could have went either way. He could have went after Flair, or he could have went after Nikita for that U.S. belt, and both would have worked. Could you imagine a Dusty Rhodes?
I think it would have been bigger and better if you had Funk and Flair at Starrcade.
That would have been amazing, man. What about another guy? Now, granted, I know UWF is still going on.
Mm-hmm.
What about Sting? What if Sting would have come out? He was still not as over. He was still not as known.
My God, he was so green.
He was so green, but man, he was also so that youth and that inexperience was also a plus because man, he was over. I mean, he had that charisma.
Yeah.
You know how I feel about Sting, man. He's
yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
That's another one. Now, granted, I think he was still a little bit too green and unknown to get the. Now, if it would have been a year later.
Oh yeah, if he hit it right around the '87 era. Oh,
without
God.
a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt,
Sting was already over at that point.
Oh yeah, man, he was huge. But I think, man, he could have been another one.
He would have been a great one.
Yeah, man. And speaking of great ones, dude, this podcast has been pretty great.
Yeah,
this has been a good one, man.
Yeah. I enjoy all these scenarios and just the what ifs.
Yes, man, and just speaking of the what ifs, I was talking to a couple of our mutual friends, David Hayes and Jeff Roberts. These guys, man, they've been following us since day one. And they've been, dude, you talk about supportive. These guys, they let me know every week what they think. But both of them said our last podcast about Magnum T.A. was their favorite. Both of them said the same thing. Both of them said that they were talking back with their scenarios and their what ifs.
Right.
So I wanna welcome everybody, not just Jeff and Dogs, which of course them as well, but I want to welcome anybody listening to this. If you got something you want to say or a what if scenario that we're talking about, another wrestler that could have went, in that role other than Nikita, put it on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's keep the discussion going. Dogs was like, man, I wanted to call in. I was like, well, man,
we could have, but we
weren't going to be there. Yeah. I mean, you can call in whenever.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be on air.
Right.
But yeah, man, that was something I just wanted to bring out. Guys, if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, I think God, I think Kevin Sullivan would have been a good person right there. Which, hey, man, who knows? They put it down.
I mean, yeah. You get the devil himself up here. And
why not?
Why not?
We need the devil himself. Who else is better, man? That was somebody we didn't talk about. But
that's so, Dusty making a deal with the devil.
The devil?
Yeah.
I had to make a deal with the devil, baby.
Yep.
And out that would have been awesome.
Boom.
That's what I'm saying, people. If you're hearing this and you're like, well, in other words, don't send me a message or tell me. Oh, you can do that too. I'm not saying don't do that. Absolutely do that. But also, man, get on our Facebook,
I'm just grateful that Lasertron didn't come up in any of this scenario.
Well, man, I know how prejudiced you are toward aliens. So
now hold on.
That
let's clarify that.
That would. Oh, you mean?
Now hold on. Let's clarify.
We're not talking Mexicans. We're talking Martians.
We're talking outer space. We're not talking about like
terrestrial aliens.
We're not talking.
Not from Ecuador. We're talking about from Mars.
Yeah. Holy moly.
Oh boy, hey, I think it's about time we start wrapping this thing up, Mike.
Hey, yeah.
Well, hey man, before we do wrap it up, I just want to give a shout out to our local wrestling federation. I try to remember to do it every week. The Millennium Wrestling Federation. They have another show coming up on the 11th, August the 11th. They are located at 508 Howards Creek School Road in Lincoln, North Carolina. You can also find them on Facebook at MWF-Live.
And you'll also see Lasertron there at some point.
Lasertron will pop up.
Yeah.
Only if you're lucky.
Right.
Well, my brother, I had a great time again today, man. I've been looking forward to this one all week.
Yeah.
Did not disappoint. I think we brought some good stuff. And like I said, if you guys are out there listening and you're like, oh, man, I think y'all really dropped the ball here.
Right.
Or, I would have said this. I said that, man. Let us know about it, man. Get on Facebook. Let's talk about it, man. Let's keep this thing going. Just because we do a podcast once a week don't mean that we're only PUDs once a week. We're PUDs every day.
Every day.
And we just love talking to other PUDs about this
we just record it one day a week.
That's it, man. That's the only difference. And we definitely want you guys to participate with us, man. Also be on the lookout for David Hayes' podcast. They only do it once a month. So I don't have a date for their next one, but This Is a Work. You can also find that on Facebook as well. And I think their next podcast is going to be after the all-women's pay-per-view that WWE's going to be doing, Evolution.
Yeah.
That's coming up. I'm really looking forward to hearing that one, man. I'm really looking forward to get their take on that. So be on the lookout for that as well. And I guess, Mike, brother, you got anything you want to throw out there before we hit the stop button?
No, just the fact that I think we did this more or less as our kind of a tribute, kind of our appreciation for Magnum.
Oh, absolutely,
and the impact he had on us and just wrestling in general.
Yeah, Mike, you're 100% correct, brother. For somebody who had, from the time I really got started wrestling to the time Magnum had his car accident, it was a very short period of time. And no, I don't think any other entertainer really, especially within wrestling, man, maybe some musical guys or something, nobody I think has had that much of an impact on me as an entertainer in such a short period of time than Magnum did. But yeah, man, I totally go with that too. This is definitely our tribute, our thank you to Magnum.
Yes.
And just to everything that he had done and just what could have been.
Right, exactly. And the fact that we're still sitting here talking about it today, along with other people, I know other people are always talking about.
Oh yeah.
Magnum and those scenarios and even with the matches back then.
Yes.
He had such an impact that we're all still talking about it today.
Today, man, and who else can say that, Mike?
Right.
Once again, man, just given the short period of time that he was in it, to 25, 35 years later, we're still discussing this stuff.
Yeah. And
man, that's just a testament to who the man was and just to his ability and just him as a person.
Yeah.
As an entertainer, as a performer, as a man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Magnum. If
thank
you ever,
absolutely.
If Terry Allen ever does listen to this podcast, thank you, brother. If it wasn't for you, man, we may not be here right now. Just
exactly.
To be completely honest with you, Well, Mike, brother, I guess we can go ahead and start wrapping this bad boy up. If you don't have anything else to say,
I'm good.
Well, I guess until next week, we'll do it again. And Puds, y'all have a good one.
And not only that, David, I understand we're right at the end of our program.
No. We have got to go.
This has been a great event.
There's some people out there that hate us for this.